we're going to roll right into our next session. And I think this one is going to be really great because by blessings, Press and I have both had the opportunity, Press for a lot longer than myself, to learn from Gary Keller. And so we thought it would be really good to just share with you guys some of the most important things that we've taken away from Gary. So Press, are you on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm loving that background.
Hey, I did want to make a quick disclaimer, so I apologize. I'm getting used to this whole background thing. If you notice my hair start to look like this here, I apologize. That's sort of the look I'm going for right now. I'm going to stick with this background for today.
I love it. You look like you work at the One Thing today. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And also, just so everyone knows, this is the first time I've worn a sports coat in a month. Feels really good, although I am rocking it with fuzzy slippers, so I got to balance that.
Oh my gosh, I know. I did the opposite and went with the t-shirt today, so we're on opposite wavelengths. Okay, so I'm gonna let you kind of kick it off. And actually, first, do you want to just? I know almost everybody knows you, and we have a lot of people who are guests on as well. So maybe give a little background, and then we can kind of just dive right in.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Press McKissack. I'm the regional director for the Ohio Valley region, and I get to work with the amazing people on this call with me, Dana and Blair. So just honored to be here with everyone. I tell everyone I was basically born into KW. So pretty much I came out of the womb. I think they wrapped me up in like a KW loincloth and started feeding me Kool-Aid from a bottle. It's kind of what it was like growing up. Obviously, Jim and Linda McKissack are my parents. So anyways, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start. Let's see. What do you want to start with? You choose. You go first. We have so many.
So here's kind of what we did. This is going to be really fun. And first off, I want to start off by just telling everyone that, right now, and I'm so glad we just had Debbie because it was so good. Like everything she said was spot on. I think we all need to hear that right now. I will tell you, like anyone else, I have really good days, and then I have other days where I'm just kind of like, man, it just, there are days where you focus on what you can control. And then for whatever reason, there's some days where you're just kind of stuck in what you can't. Yeah. And the thing that's really helped me the most is just gratitude. So I just wanted to start off by telling everyone that I'm grateful for you, and that like the human race is a really resilient group of individuals, and we're all going to get through this, and we're all going to get through this together. So I think we all can rest in the fact that, we all have a great network. And so plugging into things like this is really important in my opinion, because it just gives us that little boost that we need. And I think we need a little dose of gratitude and positivity every day.
Yeah. Love that. I love that. I feel the same way. I've been writing gratitude cards every single day and sticking in the mail. And Debbie's right. It really does. It gives me energy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to kick us off. So we came up with basically, Dana and I have been working with Gary for the last almost a year and a half now, really closely. I've known him for longer than that. Used to go on fishing trips with him, my dad, and Gary's son. So I've known him for a long time. So we came up with sort of our list of what we've learned the last 12 months or so, or pretty much our whole life from Gary Keller. And we're just going to kind of run through those. So Dana, you and I are just going to kick it back and forth. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yep. I've got a list too. So in no particular order, you go first.
All right. So here's my first big takeaway. The way that Gary starts his year every year is by pulling out his calendar, and he time blocks 3 things in particular. The first one and most important is family time. You should, at the beginning of every year, you should time block those first, and those become immovable objects. The second thing he time blocks for is the big rocks in your business. What are the activities that matter most, right? Your top 20%, like we talk about. And then the third thing you're going to time block, which most people don't ever do, is time to work on your business, which is essentially thinking time, right? Time to work on your business and not just in it. And the other thought I wanted to add with that, Gary talks a lot about this idea of there are glass balls in our life and there are rubber balls in our life. Yeah. And glass balls are things like your family. Let's start with the rubber balls. Like rubber balls would be something like your business or something that if it were to be dropped, it bounces back, right? It comes back up. If you are to miss something in work, you miss a Zoom call, you miss a business meeting or whatever, those are things you can bounce back from, right? Rubber ball bounces back up. Family time missing your kids' soccer games or missing an important, life moment with them. Those are glass balls, and those don't tend to bounce back up. And so it's important, I think, to always start with when you're talking about planning and thinking time and what's the most important. You always start with your family first. So that's my.
Love it. Yeah. Gosh, Press, now I'm kind of thinking, I mean, we have so many to share. Okay. So one of the first, and this may be on your list too, I can't remember. One of the first ones that I thought of, and I went back through my notes of just a lot of Gary quotes I've written down from being in the room with him, was this one: you pick your level of success by your level of engagement. And one of my favorite quotes, not a non-Gary Keller quote, is, and many of you have heard me say this before, but you bloom where you're planted. So when people say, how can I be successful? How can I have opportunity? How can I get into leadership? How can I, own a real estate office one day? And I always say, you bloom where you're planted. And so I love when Gary said, you pick your level of success by your level of engagement, because what he means by that is, how engaged are you in that you want to be successful in? So a lot of times I think people, I've heard Gary say so many times, what does he say? He can tell someone's priorities by looking at their calendar and their checkbook, right? And so I think when you are not seeing the success that you are expecting, check your level of engagement. And I've heard him say that so many times. And with that, he always says, if we haven't mastered it, then we will shy away from it. It's our natural tendency to shy away from something if you haven't mastered it yet. And so why would you not go master whatever it is that you're trying to be successful in? And I love when he talks about that. And I don't know, you guys can type in the chat box, but that is true for me. If I haven't mastered something, then I either am going to go master it or I choose to shy away from it. And so I think we just have to check ourselves in that area. And that's one of my favorite lessons from him ever.
I love that, Dana. All right. My next one is, this was great. So Gary talked with us about this concept of, is this your sport? Mm-hmm. And if you think about anyone, whether it's the sporting world, the business world, or anything in between those two, anyone who's gotten to a certain level of achievement where people look up to that person and people sort of envy what they've done, right? They're the people who you look up and say, wow, they instant success, right? But then you look back and it's like 20 years of work. The reality is those people made whatever that industry is or business is or sport, they made it their sport. Like they decided to go the long haul in that. And what this one really resonated with me, because what I see is, and this was a big aha in one of Gary's top 100 meetings with his top agents. He looked around the room, and besides a handful of people, like maybe 5, and that room's full of 100 to 200 people, everyone else was new within the last number of years. And so what Gary's point was, most people stop short of making something their sport. They only go in for so long and they get bored, and they don't give the commitment it takes for you to become the best or to become great at something, and they switch their focus to something else. And so that was a big one for me this year is like, is this your sport? Is this the thing that you're going to hang your hat on, that you wake up every day excited to go become the best at? And if not, then you ought to think about doing something else. Because he says, sports teams don't go out and win one championship and quit. They wake up every single day and try to achieve to see what they can become. And this one sort of leads me to another one. So I'm going to tie this one into the next one here. And that is, I don't know about you, but there are a lot of people in life who are going to ask you when you get to certain levels in your life, hey, when's enough? And typically what you hear that from like your family members and things like that. Like when you're making money and you're making income, they look up and they think it's about the money. And so they start asking you, when is enough?
Oh, I love this one. I love this next one.
And then I got this one sort of from Gary and Linda. Linda, my mom, was having that question asked to her by honestly some family members. And she had a hard time answering that because she knew it wasn't about the money, but at the same time, she didn't know how to articulate why it was that, that she woke up every day and wanted to make helping real estate agents her one thing. And Gary, so she shot that question to Gary in an email, and he shot back this. He said, Linda, life is about becoming. And the way we become is to wake up every day and see what we can achieve. And I just thought that was such a beautiful point, because for the people who want to make things their sport, it's not about the money. It's about waking up every day, seeing what you can become and who you can take along the way and help them become.
Yeah, that's one of my very favorite ones from Gary, from Linda, from Gary, for sure. Okay, let's see. The next one that I have was a big one, and it's kind of a twofer also. So I heard, and I've heard Linda say this numerous times too, but sometimes when you are a high achiever and you're used to just getting a lot of stuff done and getting into action, you can wake up in the mornings, and sometimes throughout the day, you just may find yourself like frustrated or not happy, or you walk around kind of like Linda has said this before, you walk around kind of just like pissed off and grumpy all the time. And so, and so Linda had shared with me that Gary, one of the biggest lessons from Gary was, he said, sometimes as a high achiever, your minimum is going to be the average person's maximum. Mm-hmm. And so that was the most massive aha for me, because we have to find other people who our minimums are their minimums, not their maximums. And so if you're walking around frustrated or upset with your team or somebody that works with you or whatever that looks like, the likelihood could be that your minimum is their maximum, and that's never going to work. You're constantly going to feel like you're beating your head against the wall all the time, and you're frustrated all the time. And so for me, that was just a massive aha around how do you go find talent that's like that, and who you're associated with is so important, because when you're going to run fast and you're going to supercharge your life, which that supercharging thing is another one of mine from Gary, but when you're going to supercharge your life, you have to be surrounded by the people who your maximum is the same as their maximum, and your minimum is the same as their minimum. Otherwise, you're just going to walk around frustrated all the time.
The hard part with that, Dana, is there's only so many of those people in the world.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love that one. Okay, let's see. I've got a couple other really good ones here. So this one was pretty convicting. You know, a lot of times what I hear from agents is, and Gary talks about this too in some of our meetings, where, you know, they get to a point where they say, I'm happy where I'm at. You know, like I've built this organization, I've built this world, and I'm happy. And Gary's typical response to them is, that's honestly the most selfish thing you could ever say. And it's an interesting one to kind of unpack. So I'm not going to take the time to go through all of it, of what he says. But one of the things he says here is, if we added up all of your team members' goals, would they fit inside your world? Meaning not just what they've achieved, but where they want to go. If we took all of those and put that into your business, would that expand beyond your business? Would it be included in your business? Because essentially, as soon as you put a limit on your business, you've just limited everyone in your world. Yeah. And the reality is, if you work with talented people, they're going to want more. They're going to want to achieve more. They're going to want to become more. And as soon as you put that ceiling on your business, you've just limited their opportunity. And the second part of that he asked that I thought was really convicting is, other than your team members, let me go talk to your spouse, and let me go talk to your kids. What are their dreams? What are their goals? And would those dreams and goals fit inside where your business is, or does it need to expand to account for those bigger visions? So I thought that one was a great one this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and those are making me think of other ones too. Actually, this one kind of goes with a couple that we've said. I wrote down when we were in a meeting with Gary on December the 19th of 2019, he said, guys, we aren't in the changing people business. He said, if they don't want to do more and achieve, then they are your lid. And that was a huge aha for me. Big lesson. If the people around you don't want to do more and achieve, then they are your lid. He said, if you're trying to win the race, then you need someone who wants to win and who wants to achieve. And if you don't have those people around you, then they become your lid. And then with that, he went in to talk about, I know you had this on your list too, but we can't change people. We can't make them think a certain way. So the only thing that we can do is become the best teacher possible to them. We have to share stories with them. We have to ask them great questions. We have to teach them and have them self-discover that they could do something differently, or that they could do it another way. Because I don't know about anybody else, that's the couple hundred people that are watching right now. And Debbie said it too. You can't change anybody. So we can't have the people around us and think, hey, I'm just going to go and like force them to change, the reality is that that's not going to work. So we gotta get in the mindset of teaching people, and doing that through trainings and through coaching and through teaching, and helping them discover that there is a different way. And that's been something that Gary does like perfect, in my opinion. He's masterful at that.
Well, I think the one I'm about to say, I think came from that exact conversation. And the way that I heard it is this: he said, your job is to coach people to want more, or admit they don't.
Yeah, I love that.
That one is huge for me, right? Because you're trying to, like you said, teach people to want more, how to go for more, how to live a big life, or you're wanting them to self-discover that they don't. And either option's okay, right? It's just, staying in the middle is when it's not okay, right? When you feel like you're working with people who want big things and want to do a big life, but they really don't. That's when, like you talked about, you're going to be hitting someone's maximum at your floor.
Yep. Let's see. Do you have another one right in front of you?
Yeah, I do. This one I think ties into a lot, Dana, about what you and I have been talking about lately. Collaboration beats competition.
Oh yeah.
He said, compete and we move slow, collaborate and we move fast. So if you think about businesses today, and I believe this is going to trend we're going to start seeing moving forward from here. In fact, Dana, it's part of like your one thing, for your job, right? Where, like there are businesses where if they stay over there and they do their business, they're going to win, and we stay over here, we're going to do our business and we're going to win. However, if you really want to talk about disruptive and doing things that the market wouldn't expect, how can you find ways to actually to collaborate with your competition to do things together? And that's a different mindset, because most people think that's my competition, not someone I'd want to partner with to go to the next level. But reality is, in the marketplace, sometimes the most disruptive thing you could do is collaborate with the people you compete with and figure out a way to go to the next level.
Yep. I love that. That one is very, very important right now with everything that we have going on also. Aaron said, when press talks, I can actually hear Gary.
That's
I love it.
That's a compliment anyone could give me. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Gary voice,
That's a really good one. Okay, so one of the next things I wrote down is Gary told us a story back in, I think, November or December, talking about two different types of people. And he said, neither are right or wrong. However, there are two different types of people. And so when you are building relationships with other people, or you're getting to know somebody, or it's even for your clients, for instance, or people that you are building on your bench, whatever that looks like, there's two different types of people. There's one person that wakes up every single morning and they want to know, what can I do to do more? How can I achieve more? How can I grow more? How can I go higher? Like what else can I do? What else can I do? Then there's another person who wakes up and says, I don't necessarily want any more. I just want to keep safe and secure what I have right now. So they wake up every day and say, how can I hold on and keep safe and secure what I have right now? And that was a big lesson for me from Gary, because the fact that neither of them are right or wrong doesn't mean that one person's better than another person for whichever way you think. The lesson in that for me was knowing my people well enough, and knowing the people that I'm surrounded with enough, anybody in my world, to know which one of those type of people are they. And then asking them great questions to figure out, okay, if you are because I am person number one. So I used to kind of struggle being vulnerable for a minute with person number two, because I didn't understand why they may not want more and want to do more and want to achieve more. And so the way that he said it, I thought, okay, that doesn't, one's not right or wrong. It's just understanding the reasons why, and then still helping that person be able to figure out a way into your world. Or like Gary said, he's number one and his wife is number two. Right. And so he said, and they obviously make it work. They have a great relationship because they know that about each other. And so when you can understand that about somebody, I think it just puts you at like a whole nother level. So I loved that. I just thought that was a great lesson.
Yeah, that's a great one, Dana.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to combine two here. So they're kind of related. So the concept of shift, we've been talking a lot about that, obviously, the last few weeks now, right? With everything that's going on. Gary said something that framed it for me in a sort of a positive manner instead of necessarily a negative. He said shifts equal redistributions of wealth. He said shifts are the time in which, positive, talented people look up and say, this is my opportunity to go take market share, to position myself to come out of this. And one of the analogies he used is KW. KW went into the last shift number 4 of all companies, and they came out number 1. And so the reality is, doesn't matter what position we're all in right now, anyone in the marketplace, whether you're the top dog and you're number 1, or you're, or you're just getting started, everyone's sort of at the same level playing field right now, given everything we're going through, which should be for those who want to take action, it's a positive thing. It should be an exciting thing. And the second one that really stuck out to me was, in these times, not all boats sink. Because I think the thought process right now is, oh, everyone's business is going backwards. It's going to hurt everybody. But the reality is, he said, when shifts happen, industries as a whole, yes, they go down. The number of deals, the business, whatever, it goes down. However, not every company or agent will go down. And so I took great, solace in that, and the fact that doesn't mean, even though the industry as a whole or the economy as a whole is going to take a hit, doesn't mean that each individual agent, depending on what they do in this moment, is going to position them in a different place coming out of this.
Yep. Okay, Press, I would like for both of us to talk about the next one, because it's a big one and we both had it on our list, and that's organic growth versus disruptive growth. And, that was kind of a new thing to me, hearing Gary talk about that. And he first talked to us about that, I think, from what I can find in my notes, back in January 22nd, to be exact, was when Gary brought out this diagram, and he said, okay, here's what organic growth looks like, and then here's what disruptive growth looks like. Now, since then, he has been helping us learn that in the market that we're in now, or with the current pandemic, that organic growth doesn't look like this anymore. Organic growth actually could look like this, while disruptive looks like this. And knowing the difference between organic and disruptive growth is a lesson in itself. But we both kind of had notes around this. So what would you say about organic versus disruptive growth that you've learned from Gary?
He said 2 things that have really stuck out to me. The first is sort of as it relates to business, but it also relates to disruptive growth. The first was when a business hits a plateau. So I think these are the moments in which we're all feeling that. You have to blow something up. So that means you have to do something disruptive or different. And that could mean, there's usually 3 things. That could mean a model, it could mean technology, or it could mean a person. And that could either be a coach, that could be adding a talented person into your life. Gary says most businesses have to reinvent themselves at least 7 times or more in their life cycle, right? And so the other thing he says about disruptive growth is, disruptive growth comes from either being the solution when disruption comes, or from creating the disruption itself. And I thought that was hugely impactful, right? So for the agents on the call, the thing you should be thinking about, because none of us caused a pandemic, right? This happened to us. None of us caused it. So that means that you can't cause this disruption. However, you could be the solution in the disruption. So what are the ways you can be the solution for your clients, for the marketplace, right? In the disruption, such that it positions you differently than everyone else.
Yep, and that walks right into it. I loved, and you had this in yours as well, when Gary said, he says this all the time, what got you to where you are will not always get you to where you want to go. And so he always talks about, and there's a Wayne Gretzky, I think, quote that says that too, but seeing where the puck is moving and skating to where the puck is going to, not where the puck is at right now. And I just think that that's so true, because the number one thing agents need to be doing right now after care calls is figuring out what is their value proposition. I mean, really, truly, what is your value prop as a realtor, and how does that change, especially in a new way of doing business that we're in right now? What Gene said yesterday, I'm going to start using that, the short new normal, because I kept saying new normal, and he said it's only going to be for a short period of time, because then it will be the normal. And then the other thing that I loved that, and you had this, I'm going to read this from yours, focus first on being expandable, not on expanding. So even when you're thinking about being disruptive, build a strong foundation. And I loved, he said, let's see if I can find this really quickly in my notes. something about why are you worrying about the next domino that's going to fall before you've figured out before you've mastered your current domino. And that just made me think of those things. And he talks a lot about that, going deep on what you have, on the one thing that you have, and then letting that naturally knock over your next domino.
Yeah, love that. All right, we got 3 minutes. Do we want to hit a couple more, or do we want to do questions? You tell me.
Let's hit a couple more, and if you guys have questions or thoughts, just type them in the chat, and then we can kind of answer those if they pop up.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot off two real quick. So one is this one's a big one for me. Obviously, a lot of what Gary talks about is around people, because as you get to a certain level of success, your biggest problem or your biggest opportunity becomes people. And these are just a couple from that line of thinking. Your job is not to manage people. Your job is to hire self-managed people. And I cannot tell you how many times I have conversations with it doesn't, I mean, not just real estate agents, it could be any business. And they're what they want to talk about is the drama of people. And my first thought from what Gary's taught is, do you have self-managed people? And this sort of goes to the other one, which is when people start giving you their jobs back, you have the wrong people. You want people who walk into your room and they hand you a plan for what they want to do to go to the next level, not who walk in your room, sit down, try to give you their job back, or are sitting at your desk every day. Where's mine? How do I get more of this? I want more. I've earned this. Those are not the kind of self-managed people you want to have. You want to have the people who are territory takers. They're out. They want to be a solution and not necessarily bring you problems. When you have people who bring you problems, you've got the wrong people. They're not self-managed people.
Yeah, love that. That's a big one for everybody. Okay. Oh, I do want to mention Supercharge. So back in February, one of the things that Gary said, he actually showed us the motivation video on YouTube of Kobe Bryant. And when he did that, he talked about supercharging your life. And so he said this, he said, when you want to supercharge your life, you have to put the hours in, because then nobody else can catch you. They can't catch you because you put the long hours in. And he related it back to Kobe being in the gym, and he was the first one in there and he was the last to leave, and people kept, I don't remember exactly who it was, but somebody kept coming in and saying, man, you're always here before me. You're always here before me. And the reality was, because Kobe said, you're not going to be able to catch me if I'm here before you every single morning. And so Gary said, long hours are not virtuous, but depending on where you are in your life, they can be very, very strategic. And that was a huge lesson for me, because I don't know about you guys, but there are times where, and honestly, right now is one of them, if we're being super just real and honest, that, you work longer hours than you ever have before. You're working on the weekends. You may feel like you're, up later, or it's just a constant. But the thing to remember is you can do that. And it's not always going to be like that, but you can do that and be very strategic, because you're in a period of time where you can seek opportunity and you can go take advantage of that, and you can grab it and you can truly supercharge your life. And I used to feel guilty around that, and I could never figure out kind of why. And then when he said supercharge your life, it totally hit me, because every single time that I have done that, it's been because I've been working towards something really big, and I've been supercharging during that moment. And I thought, gosh, he just said that at the perfect time. And I thought that was such a great one.
Yeah, it's spot on. The last one I want to end with, Anna, before we have to go, unless you tell me how long we have, I want to touch on parenting for a minute. This is, I'm in the phase of life right now where I've got two young kids, right? So I've got a little over a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old. So I am knee deep in diapers and Disney Plus and all this stuff. And one of the things that it's caused me to do is really think about the things I want to do in the seasons I have with my kids, and how I want to pour into them and position them to be self-functioning adults, right? To be able to have their best life possible. So something Gary has shared is a strategy he did, which is to pay your kids to read books. Now, I know people have different thoughts and theories on should you pay your kids, should you not, but Gary's reasoning was that, do you want them to get the knowledge that's in the book? And if you do, sometimes bribery is the way you have to do that with your children. And so Gary would pay John, and this is actually something Linda did with me, and I didn't realize it at the time when she was being sneaky about it and stuff like that, but giving your kids books to read and paying them to do it, and as long as they come back and tell you what did they actually get out of the book is a beautiful model, because it's going to get them the information that you want them to take out of that.
So wait, did she pick the book for you?
Yeah, she would pick the book, a few great ones for your kids who might be in their, right before preteen and stuff like that, is like Who Moved My Cheese?
That's what I was going to say.
That Frog, Dream Giver. Those are three awesome. Those are three of my first books that Linda gave me that I would recommend for anyone to read. There's also a great book called, I think it's from Robert Kiyosaki. It's like the Cash Flow Game. Yeah, it's like Cash Flow or something like that. And it's got like a little mouse on it. But there's a version for kids, and you can actually play it, teach them about money and things like that. So those are all great little strategies to use, especially right now. And the other thing Linda would do with me, this is kind of off of Gary, but just a good parenting tip. Linda would bring over people to her house that she wanted, that were just like successful people. Mo Anderson, for example. She would have Mo come stay at our house, and she would tell me, hey, Press, I'm really wanting to get to know Mo a little more. And will you sit at dinner with us and just think of a few questions to ask Mo to learn a little bit more about her that might help me learn about her too. And I didn't know what she was doing at the time, but what she was doing is forcing me to think about good questions to ask people who've done things in life and succeeded. And it was a very sneaky strategy, but it worked. It forced me to sit there and listen to people who've done a lot in their life and had success. So
that's super awesome. Okay, Press, really quickly, I'm typing them in. The Dream Giver, Who Moved My Cheese, Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow. I think it's Cash Flow Quadrants for Kids. But then what was the other one?
So the books were Dream Givers,
Yep.
Who Moved My Cheese, and Eat That Frog.
Oh, Eat That Frog. Yep, got it. Okay, perfect.
Dream Giver is an awesome one because of the parable. I highly recommend everyone. That's a great one to start with.
I've heard Linda tells numerous stories about you reading The Dream Giver. So yeah, and I've actually never read that. So
it's still to this day one of my favorites.
Yeah, I need to add that to my list. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I know we had a ton more we can share, so we may have to do this again. We got through about a tenth of all of the notes that we.
It was one of the good ones, though.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, Press. Thank you. Thanks for.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Have a great
Awesome.
Easter, and just know that we are all grateful for all of you, and just know you're loved. So talk to y'all soon.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks.